Well, I want to thank you for taking the time to come out here. And I remember being super excited about a year ago because I was a fan of Walking Shoes, of course, as a lot of people remember from back in the day. And got to meet you before the Black Star Riders show. And as we talked about, our good friend Brandy Goldsboro introduced us.
Yay, Brandy!
She knows everybody in town, it seems.
She's awesome.
She's the queen of
Man,
Nashville.
she is. She's great.
And
I love her.
When I found out that you were living here, I was like, well, we have to get you on the show.
Oh, man.
And
well, I appreciate y'all having me. It means a lot. This is something I'm real proud of. The guys and I were just, we don't get together that often. We don't take it for granted when we get a chance to get together and hang out, but we always get together and tell a bunch of bad stories on each other. And we get together and enjoy we kind of went through the fire together. We were little teenagers, man. We were in high school. I was a senior in high school when we were doing Tora Tora. Mm-hmm. And the other guys were about 2 years older than me.
Right.
And they were seasoned veterans. They had a band before Tora Tora called Lycanthrope. Mm-hmm. It was kind of based after Iron Maiden.
Oh, okay.
Dual guitars, singer that I went to high school with. And they kind of were headed that direction. And the bass player and drummer, John and Keith, had gotten together to do a side thing. And Keith and Patrick had known each other since elementary school, so, since they were like 7 or 8 years old. And then John and Keith went to one high school, and Patrick and I went to another. Mm-hmm. And that was basically kind of how we built our following in Memphis, is we mixed the two high schools together. Yeah. And all of a sudden, it was a bunch of kids showing up at our, house parties and our whatever kind of gig we could scrounge up, play for a keg of beer or something. And well, we thought we were living, So it was kind of, we went through something together that nobody really understands except us. We were little, and Keith and I were cutting grass for a living. Mm-hmm. My mom was a real estate agent, and we were riding around in like a Dodge Ram pickup with lawnmowers in the back. And we said, man, wouldn't it be crazy if we got to go in the studio and record and do something awesome, to possibly get a record deal or something. I mean, it was just a normal conversation. You're driving around in your truck thinking about it.
Yeah.
And we won a band competition where we won some studio time, and we went into Ardent Studios and met a producer named Paul Ebersole that ended up doing the first record with us. He cut a 5-song EP called To Rock to Roll, which we thought was hilarious. I don't know if y'all have seen it lately, but it's like a shattered mirror look on the front. We kind of had a friend of ours that had just drawn it up like a hand-drawn, and we ended up putting it on the album cover, made T-shirts, and printed up like 1,000 of them, and just started going knocking on doors at record stores back then when it was cassettes, and I'm dating myself way back, but
we've been there.
We went and made deals with them where they'd buy some in advance and put them by the register. Yeah. And I give that up to Keith. He was kind of like a little entrepreneur dude, the guitar player, and he would cut side deals with them and say, just give us a little something. And there was a guy, I was actually just talking to a friend of mine from Memphis before I came to meet y'all tonight, that we were talking about. There was a DJ named Malcolm Riker that was on Rock 98 in Memphis.
I remember Rock 98.
He had a locals-only show, and he would play us on there. And it was a chance for bands to raise awareness and exposure, to an audience, have some kind of play on the radio. And, man, he just took a liking. He helped a lot of bands, but he would help us. He would plug us, like when he was going in between songs or something, he would mention our band or say something about our show coming up for us. And when we started out, we had a warehouse that we used to rehearse in. The guitar player's dad had a glue factory, and that's where we started all of our rehearsals. And he ended up getting a warehouse in Memphis. The glue factory was out on the state line between Mississippi and Memphis.
Were you playing a lot of Ramones songs?
We weren't. When we first started, we were doing like 2112 Rush. We were doing Bad Company. We were doing, who else did we do? We did Zeppelin. We did Heartbreaker because we liked the solo.
That's a great
song. There and I'm trying to think of who else we did. We did some Van Halen, So This Is Love. I think that was one of the first ones. But who else was it? Not Dream Police. We did something. Want You to Want Me.
Yeah.
I think that was one that we worked out right off the bat. And we did ZZ Top. We just were kind of little kids. They were trying to figure out like where my voice was going to go. I was like the new singer. They kind of had all been jamming together.
All right.
And, you know, I was kind of knocking around with a little neighborhood band, and I thought this was like a pretty serious, you know, audition. Yeah, I was going to somebody's living room to plug up to a PV, you know, speaker and go in there and scream for a second. And I was scared to death. You know, I was like, these dudes know what they're doing. You know, I got to get it together. But they were real patient, and I don't know, for some reason I think they were auditioning guys, but they ended up just, you know, letting me try to do the gig with them. And man, it was crazy when we got to that warehouse in Memphis. It was next door to the Mid-South Coliseum.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Jerry Lawler.
Yeah. So we're sitting there. We got the warehouse, and then there's like this Coca-Cola factory thing, and then there's the Coliseum. So all the overflow parking from the Coliseum would come in our parking lot. Okay.
Nice. Yeah.
So we got the idea. Keith's dad was storing 55-gallon glue drums in the thing. We pushed them all to one end. We threw plywood on it. We painted it black. We hung a bunch of black garbage bags off the front of it. We threw a PA in there.
Nice.
It was a nice PA. Keith's dad ended up, Big D, getting us a PA system. We set it on there. Mm-hmm. We built some 2x4 Tora Tora letters that look like Kiss, and we sprinkled them with glitter all over them and hung them from the ceiling. We went and found old carpet and hung it on the wall, and then we hung those trash bags off the wall.
All right.
And we would throw these crazy parties, and we had Malcolm Riker to advertise. Like, he would go in between the songs on the radio, and he'd go, "Hey, don't forget tonight at the warehouse, Tora Tora." You know, and we just would hear it on the radio and go, "Oh my God, this is the greatest thing in the world."
Yeah.
So, and we would try to time it on things with concerts because we'd have the overflow. And we hired we had 2 football players from Ole Miss that would work the door. They were our bouncers. We'd give them all the beer they could drink all night. And if anything happened, anybody fight, they would drag them in the parking lot and take care of, you know, let them fight it out or get rid of them or whatever. And so they were awesome. You know, looking back now, we think about it and we're like, man, there's no telling like how much money was changing hands and people coming in and out and all that. I mean, those dudes were up there, and we just left them with like a cigar box and said, "Okay, good luck. We're going in and partying." And we threw like crazy Halloween parties with like bunnies running around. And I mean, it was kind of just an old, you know, raggedy place, but we kind of dressed it up where it was a place for underage kids to go and see live music.
Yeah.
And the first one we did, we had an opening band that I think it was called Skyline. They ended up being Thrust, but it was Skyline at the time. They did it with us, but after that, we pretty much kept it. It would just be us. Like, you'd throw like this long cocktail hour where everybody was kind of just dragging in, like, you know, fold-out chairs and coolers and whatever recreational kind of things they wanted to bring. And they'd set up in the parking lot and throw frisbees. They'd order dominoes. We'd raise the door when we got to capacity. And we put big buckets of sand around so people could smoke without burning the thing down, and try to get people to throw their cigarettes or whatever in there.
Right.
But we did it by ourselves, and we ended up showcasing for all the record labels in that warehouse.
Yeah.
They came there because we didn't realize at the time we had built like a little scene.
Yeah, you created one.
When you walked in, there was 2 offices, and each office had a door out into the warehouse, and then there's a stairwell. And so we made the stairs, upstairs was VIP. We built a bar, and everybody from the record labels and all that could sit up there and watch the audience, when they came in. It would be dark in there. Nice, yeah. And we had lights. We had built, some canisters. And I mean, we really got into like just the creative part of just kind of setting the mood, But it would get like insane in there.
Yeah.
I mean, we would let it get to like the fever pitch, and then we go, all right, it's time for us to go on. Let's go up there and just start making a bunch of racket. And, everybody go crazy, and we just bang the walls till early morning, in the morning. And so anyway, that's where we met Brian Huttenhauer that signed us to A&M. He flew into Memphis. He came to the warehouse to see us. I think Virgin and Polygram and some other labels were there. And he told us later on, we didn't know this, but he said he flew into Memphis and he got in his rent-a-car, and when he turned the car on, our song was on the radio. It just happened to be on like Rock 98. And it was Tora Tora was playing. So he was like, man, that made an impression on me. And then they came to the warehouse, and saw that we had like a little following. We had mixed a couple of high schools together, so it was, I don't know, 500 people or something would probably show up. And we didn't do them that often. We'd kind of space them out. We weren't playing like every weekend. I mean, we were partying. I mean, we were little kids, so we were going nuts, you know, in there, and rehearsing every day. But we kind of spaced them out on purpose. And we'd do a show or two down at Bill Street at the New Daisy. In the old Daisy, we played those. We grew up in those places. Malcolm and them used to actually do a Tuesday night at the New Daisy. Amro Music sponsored it, which was a local music store. And you could jump up and do 3 songs or 15 minutes, okay? And it was open the whole Mid-South. Anybody could show up, and they would just run the show all night. He was the MC or whatever.
Right.
And we, like, showed up and wanted to do, like, 2112, you know? So it's like the album side.
Entirety?
Oh, my God, man. Yeah. So
You didn't say
it's
how
like,
many
dude.
songs. You said 15 minutes. We got this.
Yeah, so it was funny. We were trying to figure stuff out like that. But I just remember going up to the Daisy the first time, and I was so scared. I couldn't move. I was like just staring at my feet, and the microphone was in front of me. And I don't think I moved the entire. I got out there somehow or other, and I got off the stage. But the whole time I was out there, I didn't acknowledge the audience or anything. And Keith and them was like, "Man, you got to move around, man. You got to start jumping and, you know, get into it, man." And so after the first couple of times, we started realizing we were backstage one time at the Daisy, and there was a band called Dots that ended up being great friends of ours for. Man, you guys should check them out if you ever. I need to figure them out. It's called Dots, D-O-T-Z.
D-O-T-Z.
There was a guy named Jimmy Bridges that played guitar for them. That was the most insane style. Just, he was incredible. He was one of my favorites from Memphis. But anyway, they let us open up for them. They were kind of a little bit further along. They were kind of playing out on a circuit, you know, like in Arkansas and other cities and stuff. And we kind of looked up to them. And we did look up to them, but they offered us a chance to open up, and they paid us $50. And we were like, dude, this
Big
is
money.
it, man. We getting
it.
paid to do this gig, you know. So
Paid.
that was a big one. I think another big one was we opened, I think it was the Cook Convention Center for Alice Cooper and Motorhead.
Holy
and
shit.
us,
Right
okay?
on. Nice.
Motorhead can't get through customs.
No, really?
We've got a set, you know, we've rehearsed a set. We got 30 minutes or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're in the back jumping around our underwear and stuff, just going, we can't believe we're getting to do this gig. You know, this is the most kick-ass thing.
Where was the venue?
I think it was Cook Convention Center.
Cook Convention.
It was the Convention Center downtown. I don't know what the
Okay.
real name of it is now or whatever. But anyway, somebody walked by and just goes, you know, taps on the door, and they go, "Hey, yeah, Motorhead can't get through customs. You're gonna have to extend your set a little bit." And they just walk off. You know, we all are standing there looking at each other like, we got 30 minutes, man. You know, we got to come up with something else. So we're thinking of whatever we can do.
2112.
Yeah, 2112, baby. We're doing the whole thing. So anyway, we were
Yeah,
laughing.
the Motorhead fans will really love that.
Yeah. So, but anyway, we get out there, and this is like so crazy, man. It's like a huge deal. Malcolm Riker, guy, the DJ, had helped us get the opening slot.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're thrilled, and our friends are all there. Everybody's showing up, and we run out on stage. We're all like freaking pumped, full of fucking adrenaline, you know, just about to explode. You're like, man, this is the biggest gig of my life. We walk out, count it off. 1, 2, 3, 4. First note, the amp blows up.
No.
Yeah, Keith is like freaking out. He's standing there. We all are, the bass player and drummer keep going. I'm standing there, you know, looking around going, holy crap.
Oh, no.
We didn't really have roadies. You know, we had our friends as our crew guys that are kind of, but we didn't have any experience. I mean, they're standing there. Keith's looking at him. The other guy's looking at him. All of a sudden, out of the shadows, man, this guy with like long hair comes just running out of the back and runs out and just pushes the head off and sticks another one down and plugs in and goes, go! And it was somebody from like Alice's thing, saw us just standing there, just frozen, you know, in fear. And so we kicked it off, and the rest, you know, went great. We ended up down in the front, you know, getting blood all over us and watching Alice Cooper and freaking out. And
Well, that's awesome.
it was, man, it was the craziest experience. The four of us getting to share the kind of stuff that we did. I mean, just being as little as we were, and for A&M to take a chance on us, and Ardent Studios played a huge part in shopping us to everything. Paul Ebersole definitely had kind of championed us, and then Jody Stevens, who plays for Big Star, he was a drummer, and that was John Fry was the founder of Ardent. He was kind of their engineer. He was more in kind of a marketing capacity. When we met Jody, we didn't realize he was a famous drummer. We just knew him as Jody that worked at Ardent.
Yeah.
And so he would go with us to like LA or New York or something, and everybody would freak the hell out. You know, they're like, man, that's Jody Stevens from Big Star. And we're like, what are they talking? It's Jody, you know? So we were kind of green, we were little, and just trying to get our grasp of what was going on. And then as we grew up, kind of by the time we got to Wild America and all that, we kind of had a record on our belt. We'd been on the road for 2 years.
Right.
Which was nuts. We had never toured or anything before Surprise Attack.
Right.
We had only played locally. And so that's when we kind of started our history journey. Like, we started to realize the heritage and the, effect that a Memphis band, it meant something to be from Memphis when you weren't at home. When you went somewhere else, everybody was talking about Elvis and the blues and all the rock bands that came out. And it was pretty awesome to see the impact. Like, we felt like little tiny, I don't mean this in like kind of an ego way, but we were kind of like little ambassadors for our city. And we had there was something about being from that part of the country and doing the style of music we were doing, that it was kind of empowering. It gave us something different from a historical standpoint of like the music where it came from. You know?
I suppose most any other time you're playing some town and it's like from the Sunset Strip, Hollywood, California, here in Milwaukee or Cleveland or wherever. You guys were from Memphis. And that made it a little bit different. And there is a lot of rock roots history.
Oh man,
Memphis.
It was incredible. And we started recognizing it. There was all that elements were there from the. I'm from down in Delta, Mississippi. Keith was like total freaking like Randy Rhoads nut. He loved him. He freaking loved him. On our early that little EP thing, we had a song called "Wasted Love." That it was like a straight up. It was good rendition of kind of where he was at that time, and kind of a little picture of where he was at.
Right.
But we started realizing a lot more, recognizing, I guess, within ourselves different influences stuff. By the time we got to Wild America, we weren't as green anymore. The first record, we were trying to figure everything out and kind of learn, and going in the studio was freaking us out. We had done a little EP on our own at another studio outside Ardent, and then combined it with our experience there.
Yeah.
But we spent almost a year recording Surprise Attack. We wrote probably 50 or 60 songs and whittled it down. Some of them changed titles and names and melodies and all that stuff, and then we got them to a certain point and we were like, okay, we've set a bar for this. And Walking Shoes was actually one of the very last songs we did. Like, Keith and I were sitting in his apartment in Memphis, and we were like, we got to come up with one more song, and we got to come, and we had been doing it for a long time. We were like, man, I don't know, what are we gonna do? And he just started messing around with that riff at the front, and we were like, man, this is kind of sounds cool, and we worked on a lot of stuff together. Keith and I butted heads. He was kind of like the super heavy guy, and I like doing acoustic and stuff. So I was kind of like the little hippie, cat of the group. And then when we got together, there was something cool that.
Well, that's in my opinion what makes Wild America so good. Like, I enjoyed Surprise Attack. It's a good album, and I've also listened to Revolution Day that came out much later.